The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on
This is
Sunday.
about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
You feel that, Tansy?
Love it, baby.
You feel it?
Guns up, giddy up.
Guns up, giddy up. What is happening, everyone? Welcome to the Failure to Stop podcast. We can't stop. We
Won't
just
stop.
can't. We can't. We won't. We refuse. We're not stopping for anyone. I don't care who you are. Red and blue lights. If you're one of those weird states where you only have one color light, what is it in North Carolina? Is it like just blue?
Just blue.
Just
baby.
blue?
Red is for fire and EMS. So
Come on, man.
blue it is.
Come on, man.
I think it's weird when I see red and blue lights. Like when you go down to Florida, some of the Florida cop cars have yellow lights.
That would be weird. I would not stop for yellow lights. If I was in a state driving on vacation or something like that, or just driving through and it was yellow lights, I'd be like, why is this construction worker trying to stop me? Who does he think he is? That's not going to happen.
So in Raleigh, there's actually a law that you cannot have blue lights on your car unless you're law enforcement, period.
Yeah, makes sense.
One of the chiefs, because I think we have 3 deputy chiefs now for Raleigh. I don't know. It's like having like 2 or 3 moms. Like you don't
It's
know
like a lot of
which one.
hens in the hen house, man.
It's a lot, but the newest one, she is a female, and she was made a major. I guess the rank of major, and she came up from the academy. She has no badge, no gun, no law enforcement training whatsoever.
Wait,
she has a car with blue lights in it. Figure that one out.
How do people get in charge of cops that aren't cops?
Well, so our female chief, as you can see her behind me, she put a lot of females just like her with all the same thoughts and ideals as her, and surrounded herself in this bubble of ideology. And that's what she's been doing for the last 6 years, 7 years, however long she's been chief, while the crime rate in North Carolina has just continued to rise. And I don't know, the assistant city manager, which was her sorority sister. She's now the city manager. It's a whole bunch of, and I say sisters in the sense of like they're friends. They've all known each other for a very, very long time. And they're all like best friends. It would be like if your wife got with all of her sisters and then just took over a whole city.
That sounds like really intelligent, and that wouldn't contribute at all to cops in a mass exodus away from the job. I wouldn't guess.
You know, we're seeing this all over the country, Mike. It has been absolutely nuts. We put that thing out on social media webs, and I have never gotten more messages, more comments, more emails, texty messages in my life.
Yikes. That's what we're going to be talking about today, guys, is the mass exodus of cops away from the job. But we got a few housekeeping items to take care of before that. We need to make sure that we're vibing. We need to make sure the vibe's set, right, Tansy?
Make sure that coffee is getting
you ready. You ready to feel the vibe?
Veins. I'm ready, baby.
All right, let's feel the vibe.
What are we doing? What are we doing today? You going to surprise me with some bullshit?
Yeah, hopefully I'm going to surprise you. As long as Andy's doing his job, we're going to surprise you with a vibe, and then I want to see your moves. I got to see your moves. That's the whole point.
You always put me on the spot.
Yeah, if you guys are listening and you're not watching, you're missing it out when you're not watching the live streams and trying to kind of always tease you guys with live stream stuff. And Andy doesn't get paid for this podcast, and I'm going to cut his pay in half. So 0 divided by 100 or whatever it is still going to be 0. But and it's not coming through. So hey, guess what? That whole segment. We're going to scratch that because it's gone now.
What happened?
I don't know. We practiced it earlier this morning and made sure that it was all set up, and now it's just screwed up. So it's not happening. So we have to create our own vibes.
Okay. Okay.
I have no vibe music. I had it, but it's gone.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I had some vibes. I wanted to see your dance moves, but that's going to have to wait. You know, we got a huge surprise announcement.
We do. Let's go.
People are going to be able to see your dance moves in person soon. So stick around to the end of the broadcast, and we are going to announce some of the details of that.
We're going to drop that. We're going to drop that announcement at the end. Man,
Yes.
you're smart. That you are so smart. That's like a good old hook, line, and sinker.
Marketing 101, guys. Everybody's going
that's
to
a
hang out
huge-
this whole live stream, even if they're not interested in what we're going to talk about. They just want to know the big announcement, right? It's
so
happening.
that's a huge announcement. I'm really excited about it. Maybe more than most. So.
Yeah, I could see why. So yeah, we're gonna do some. We're gonna have a big announcement at the end. All right. So thank you guys if you have been listening to the show, right? If you have been rating it and reviewing it, especially on iTunes. I mean, obviously, if you listen on Spotify or elsewhere and you follow the show, that's awesome. Being a regular listener is we are so grateful for that. But to increase in the rankings and the exposure of the show, it's still like iTunes is king. And there have been almost 600 of you who have dropped a rating on iTunes. We thank you so much. Keep that up. Drop a full review, write a review on there, hit the follow or subscribe or whatever it is on iTunes. So helpful. So thank you. Walks with No Fear asked us, will there be another You Can't Make This Stuff Up? I bet Tansy and I could come up with a lot of good stories to put in a new book about cop stories you can't make up.
Oh, we can and we will. We can and we will.
We can and we will. We won't stop. It's failure to stop. We won't stop.
It is.
We can't stop. So,
man, have you seen some of the comments that have been coming through on the iTunes thing?
I looked earlier and saw a couple of funny ones.
Dude, they are getting so creative in there.
What do you got? What do you got?
Somebody said Lord Thanos did one thing right. He united America's best cops to come up with the catchphrase "Guns Up Giddyup." No one will ever remove their heads from their rectums and wait for all the data or information. But these two legends of LEOs break it all down, Barney style. I like this one. Like Viagra, I listen to this to keep my manhood hard while my 300-pound wife rides me reverse cowgirl, having not showered for a week. Works like a charm. What?
What?
And he used his screen name.
We're out here saving relationships.
Real name.
We're saving relationships, Tansy.
Yeah, we are
in the most weird of ways.
And then this one just says Abe Lincoln likes wheelchair porn.
That's
J. Odie, 1980. So J. Odie, who was born in 1980. Thank you for that.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm not sure wheelchair
porn.
porn existed back in Abe Lincoln's day. Just to throw that out there as history.
Yeah. I don't know how. I mean, men are men. Humanity is humanity. I'm sure there was some form of pornography in Abe's day. I don't know if you had to go to like a live theater. I don't know what you had to do. I don't know what technology existed at the time, but I'm sure it existed. I'm sure it did. Yeah, gross. So how about Hump Day Hero? What do we got this week, Tansy?
Oh man, the Hump Day Hero. The cool thing about the Hump Day Hero was that I was able to talk to some of his squad mates, and the guy is a hero. So his name is, and I'm so sorry, I have to go back to the Facebook so I don't butcher this stuff up. Dadgummit. Let's see, we'll do it on Instagram because it was there, right?
What a North Carolina phrase. Dadgummit.
Dadgummit. But anyway, Deputy Gentry, who serves in Loudoun, Virginia, Loudoun County Sheriff's, got a call for a loss prevention officer. They had a guy who was stealing some things. It was an ambush, right? So the whole thing was the guy allegedly stole a bunch of things and was literally just waiting for the police. He could have shot loss prevention. He could have shot anybody he wanted. He could have just walked away, right? Like we all know how to deal with loss prevention.
Yeah.
He waits for the cops, gets there. Gentry shows up. The dude just pulls out a gun. Doesn't go for the vest, goes all down in the pelvis and the legs, shoots him all up. Rookie, and then takes off, right? So a rookie shows up, gets his gun out, pops around off. I believe he hit the guy. Can't remember. By the way, the reason I can't remember is because we get so many Hump Day Hero requests.
Submissions,
and I read through like hours of these submissions, and then I talk to people on the phone, so I might confuse some of the facts. But anyway, so the rookie shows up. Instead of chasing after bad guy, he does shoot him, and I think he does hit him once. But instead of continuing the chase, he runs over to Gentry, ties the tourniquets, starts getting the EMS process going. They eventually catch bad guy. So Gentry, though, has lots of surgeries and is having to get repaired and is now fighting with the department to come back to work. They're like, yo, homie, you can't. You've got broken everything. Lots of recovery here. And all he wants to do is find a way back to work. And so that is why they nominated him, where everybody else is trying to mass exodus. Old Gentry is trying to get back on duty.
Well, Deputy Gentry's
All
trying
shot
to
to
stay in the fight. So yeah.
So kudos to everybody that was involved in that. And you can get all the names of the people involved in that on our Facebook and Instagram. We put a Hump Day Hero out every Wednesday, every Hump Day. And if you'd like to nominate one, what we're looking for is uncommon valor, right? Like we want not the I tied a tourniquet around the woman who got stabbed. Like we've all done that. Tons of cops around the world. I mean, we want to hear about people birthing babies in the back of cars. Last week's Hump Day Hero running into a fiery RV for 40 minutes.
It'd be way better. You know what? You know who needs to be a Hump Day Hero is a female cop so committed to the job that she actually delivers her own baby while on patrol, hands the baby off to her partner, who cuts the cord and then takes care of cleans the baby off while the female cop types a report or handles a call. Yeah, that is a Hump Day Hero right there. If you know what, that would be like the ultimate chick cop move. Yeah,
that's the kind of shit we're looking for. And look, it doesn't have to be life-saving. It doesn't have
I want it all to be on duty. I want this cop to have been impregnated on duty.
Oh.
And then every shift she works when she's pregnant, she never calls off. And then she delivers her own baby in the front seat, not the back seat, in the front seat and goes right back to work. Yeah. That would be, if you could do that, that would make Hump Day Hero. Yeah. No maternity leave. No, correct.
So,
and then you give up your baby for adoption because you're so committed to the job.
You put it in the foster care system for years.
Yes. Because you cannot leave the job.
Or you can raise your child to be just like our old Raleigh police chief's son, who is like a multi-time felon, stealing shit, cars, walking out on massive bar tabs. You know, just be that real police parent.
Someone you can be proud
leadership
of, you know?
has taught you to be. You know the leadership that those lieutenants, those captains that are all cheating on their wives and like sleeping with rookies and all those things. Try to be like them, right?
Yeah, exactly. Role models. That's what we're looking for here.
Yep. So, which I think has a big deal when it comes to mass exiting. I think it's funny because when I was doing all the reading and the typing of all of the complaints that I've gotten from around the United States, the one thing that kind of has in common is really terrible leadership. And I don't know what it is. And maybe we can talk about it, Mike, but what happens once you crest that rank of lieutenant where you just become a piece of shit?
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating psychological discussion to have, but not all cops. We're going to talk about this mass exodus, but not all of them have left on their own. I came across the cop Bill Cosby this week, who is leaving a job not because he is sick of bad leadership, but because he drugs and rapes women. And abuses his authority as a cop.
There he is. There he is. He doesn't look like somebody that would rape women. He was in a lineup of folks, I would say.
He's not a cop Bill Cosby right there. I mean, he looks kind of like Bill Cosby. I mean, just if a pudding pop had a beard, I guess.
I mean, I guess if I was going to get raped and drugged, that's who I'd want to be raped and drugged by.
The story says an Alabama police officer allegedly drugged and raped a woman after meeting her on a dating website, and the second victim has already reached out to investigators. Authorities said this week. Officer Matthew Wilcox, you can't make that up. Officer Matthew Wilcox, a date.
Will put his cocks in you.
Wilcox, at age 37, was arrested Saturday on charges including first-degree rape and unlawful possession of a controlled substance after a search warrant at his home led to a discovery of illegal narcotics, multiple firearms. Well, I mean, he's a cop. He's going to have firearms. Drug paraphernalia. Birmingham Police Chief Patrick Smith told reporters on Tuesday at a press conference. Woo!
So if you
engaged in intercourse allegedly with another person who is incapacitated and unable to consent. Well, sometimes it'd be like that. I mean, that's how Abe Lincoln did it.
Was he a real cop? I mean, not a real cop, but was he like, was he a street cop or was he a jail cop? What kind of cop is this guy?
Man, I don't know.
He's got a big beard. He's got a really long beard. He doesn't really look like a,
well, I mean, maybe he's just so manly,
maybe he's like
manly filled with testosterone that by the time he was arrested and then the photo was taken, he just grew the beard. I don't know.
Gotcha. But you know what's funny? Because Alabama has like one of the highest crime rates in America anyway, believe it or not. Like
Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama's a very violent place to live.
And all crimes are domestic because everyone is related. Every crime is a DV.
It's all about family, baby.
That's the way we roll in Alabama. So that's
all about family.
Crazy. So yeah, there are some cops that leave because they have to, like in the case of Mr. Will Coxew, if you're incapacitated. And but there's a lot more that are leaving voluntarily, such as ourselves. And we'll save our reasons for leaving the job maybe toward the end of the episode. But in the meantime, I nominate Eric's legs by the pool. Come on, man. Corn Pop is going to be there. We're going to talk about why cops are leaving in droves. Pull up that article real quick again, Andy. Andy's trying to claw his way back into the good graces of the show. So he'll put up this article, but I did encounter this. This stat comes from NPR. Cops say low morale and department scrutiny are driving them away from the job. I don't know how well you guys can read this on your screens if you're watching, but basically, Andy, what are the stats? It says something in there about a certain percentage of people retiring early and a certain percentage are leaving the job early.
All right, so it says 45% increase in the retirement rate and a nearly 20% increase in the resignations in 2020 through 2021.
Imagine that. But I'm sure the politicians would have us to think it's just COVID related, right? It's not poor leadership. It's not an politicization of the job. Of course not. It's all COVID, I'm sure.
That whole thing is it's so asinine to me, because out of the literally hundreds of messages that I've received, not one person has indicated that it was anything to do with COVID or having to wear a mask or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think this pendulum has been swinging really hard in one direction since about 2013, maybe sooner than that even. And I loved it because when I was a cop, you always hear about the pendulum swinging, right? And it's always going to go back the other way. Well, it never went back. It still hasn't gone back that same way in 10 years. It is just the community, the whole drive for community policing, and this whole attitude of that police officers should be in direct communication with civilians. And it makes no sense because, like I've said on previous shows, those are two different languages that we speak. Law enforcement does not need to necessarily communicate with citizens. It's not our job. Our job is to go out there and enforce the laws that are made by upper management. Now, what I think has really led to this mass exodus is that upper management has put all the blame on law enforcement. The media has put all the blame on law enforcement. The citizens have put all the blame on law enforcement, and law enforcement no longer has a voice. From the city managers down, they have no voice. Where in the past, right, we had the mayors and the managers, they gave us the benefit of the doubt. Okay, you're the law enforcement officer. We think that you were, and as long as you were acting reasonably or within reason, you were okay. Now it's not even that. Now it has nothing to do with reason. It's you're the scapegoat, and we're going to put all the blame on you. We're going to take no blame for ourselves. And in fact,
you can't. I mean, reasonableness is the historic way that courts have made judgments upon cops doing their jobs. And I don't know that there can be any other way, right? Like reasonableness is super important because it allows for a healthy level of flexibility. Because when you box someone in so tight on policies and you keep narrowing the field of abilities that cops have to even make decisions, you make the pressure so impossible, the field of options so impossible to deal with, that no intelligent person is going to say, hey, this is a good career for me to be in anymore, because I can't do this job reasonably within the confines that you're trying to put it in. It's so unpractical anymore in a lot of places, not everywhere, but in a lot of places, especially like major urban areas, that it's like you're squeezing good cops out, because good cops with good brains understand the necessary nature of a reasonable judgment for how you frame in policing.
And when he says good cop, the definition of a good cop is somebody who is a selfless, servant. And so a lot of your good cops are out there selflessly serving every day. They're changing that tire when it's 101 degrees outside. They are buying that biscuit for the homeless person that's being trespassed from the food line. He's buying the diapers that the woman was stealing at the Dollar General. Now, we sometimes see these stories on Facebook and they get blown up. Officer so-and-so buys these. But let me tell you this. Every cop that I've worked with in the Southeast District of Raleigh has bought homeless people or people who are larcenifying stupid things like socks and diapers and milk. They have all done that. So when somebody blows up on social media, again, I'm kind of against that as well, because I don't think that that's the place. That's again pandering. That's saying like, look at us. It's not our job. Our job's not for you to look at us. Our job's not for you to like us, or to appreciate us or respect us. Our job is to show up and be the example and enforce laws. So
the good cops are, to me, I'm assuming you guys had to, like, in your academy, you had to memorize the law enforcement code of ethics, right? Like,
yeah, I mean,
and repeat that. Like, that was a big thing for us. And to me, a good cop is someone who every day does his job that day in line with the law enforcement code of ethics. That's a good cop. And it's someone who crosses the ethical lines. And what's happening right now, what I'm seeing right now is like a self-fulfilling prophecy where people are like pushing and pushing and pushing, and you're going to end up with the kind you think cops are bad. You think that cops are racist. You think that cops are corrupt. You think that cops are violent. All of these things is a self-fulfilling prophecy, because that's all you're going to be left with. Because the only people willing to be in these positions are people who have compromised themselves contrary to the ethics required to be a good cop, because you've made the job untenable. You've made the job be something that good people can't do anymore, because good people, reasonable people, aren't going to be led around and be wagged by the tail of politics. They're just not going to do it, because they're good people. So they're good. They want to be good citizens. They want to be good husbands. They want to be good fathers. They want to be good members of their community, right? Like, whether it's baseball coach or they're business owners or whatever they're doing in their community, they want to be good at it. And if they're reasonable and they're committed to being good, they're not going to allow themselves to be shoved around by political bullshit bullies. And that, I think, is, if I had to describe it in everyday words, is why we're seeing like a massive move. These 20% of people leaving. In some departments, it's 30 to 40% are leaving, resigning. We talked about that before with the Chauvin case. At one point, there was over 30% of the Minneapolis department was reduced in a year's span. I mean, it's nuts how many people are leaving the job.
Portland, Oregon is down to 40. No, I'm sorry. They are down to 93 uniformed officers in Portland, Oregon. They're
wait, what?
Yes. So they've had 115 police officers have left the force. And this was as of April. 74
Portland
of them retired early.
What?
41 simply turned in their badges and quit. There's a hiring freeze in place, so there's no new officers coming. And 93 there's 93 uniform positions remain vacant. I'm sorry, that was
okay. So they're 93 short.
They're 93 short,
which means that the people that are left are getting worked like, Hebrew slaves.
And what I've heard from Portland, from this one gentleman that sent me a text message, that is again they are short from like stats that came back from like 2010. They're up to 662,000 people in Portland, Oregon. Property crime is going through the roof. Look, just to let you know that in 2021 so far, the homicide rate is 1,900% up. They've had 20 murders in the first 3 months of 2020.
Yeah, that's great.
So this mass exodus of policing, and I could go stat after stat. We could talk about Austin. We could talk about New York. We could talk about Philadelphia, where they're at their homicide climb is 25% already here in 2021 in the first 3 months.
Well, that's why I joked about the COVID thing too, because what I hear when I click on like a mainstream news source is that they're blaming this on COVID. Well, people were cooped up and there was all this tension building up and people were, struggling mentally, so it exploded in crime. It doesn't have anything to do with politics. It has everything to do with the fact that COVID really, damaged people psychologically, all this stuff. So that's why we have an increase. Or if you want to believe the current administration, it's gun violence. It's because they have guns that the rates are going high. So we've got to take the guns away from normal people so that criminal people will stop using them. It's this nonsensical bullshit that's pervasive across these, particularly urban centers. It's nuts. We had asked on my Instagram, I had asked for people to anonymously say, hey, what do you feel like as a cop that you want to say, but you can't? You're not in a position to say it. And that's a whole other topic, is policing and First Amendment, but that's a different day.
Well, I mean, I think the First Amendment thing goes along with this mass exodus. We're losing rights. Every officer is losing rights. I talked to an officer yesterday for 35 minutes. I asked that officer to take a picture of the policy that they were complaining about and text it to me. They said that they could not, and that they were not willing to take a picture and text it because there's too much evidence there. And I said, is your policy not public record? And that officer said, I think it is, but I would rather not screenshot anything and send a picture, because I think that if it got out that I sent you a picture, or if I even talked to you, I would probably get fired. I was able to find that policy on public record in less than 10 minutes, so it's fine. But the fact that an officer is scared to take a picture of a public policy and send it to somebody like us, and here's the other thing about that. I said, how would they even know who we are? And they said, oh, our staff already knows about your show.
Good. Hey, if you are listening to this show and you're a police admin and you're dipping in to kind of hear it, hey, fuck you.
We're going to actually tell you how you can save your department and how you can, at the end of the show, we've got tons of bullet points, and these are coming from your officers who you won't listen to, who are too scared to talk to you. But I have lots of information to tell you, towards the middle of this show about what you can do to build morale in your department, how to save the mass exodus, because cops don't want to leave.
The solution isn't even complex. I don't think
it's not at all. It's not complex
super
at all.
easy.
There's some very small things that we can do.
You know what? We should do, Tansy? We should let a police department bring us in and make us co-chiefs for 6 months.
How about we do a chief ride along? Like we do a chief ride along, we just get to blow up their chief and tell them how fucking ridiculous their policies are.
So if you're listening out there and you want to turn your department around, bring in Tansy and I as co-chiefs for 6 months. It's not going to be cheap. I'm not going to lie, because we have a lot going on. And if I'm going to take that time, you're going to have to pay. All right. So here's some of the things that officers are saying that they feel like, and a lot of people responded to me, not today, IA. Like,
not today, baby.
They don't even trust me, right? They're like, yeah, I'm not saying anything anywhere, that's going to put my job at risk. But so some of these are directed toward people in the community, like, oh, your neighbors are being loud. Maybe grow a pair and go talk to them yourself. Some of the things that are like day-to-day jobs. BLM is a lie. I've held too many children who are victims of black on black crime. This is a lot of race is in here. That is a huge issue. Well, this opened a can of worms. I have a lot of anger towards superiors who aren't defending us. That's huge. I think that's
overwhelming.
A huge theme.
It's overwhelming theme going forward. I mean, going through all these messages is the leadership, and this is where I think the problem lies on that, Mike. And I'm going to let you finish reading, but the chiefs, they're there to appease the city managers, which are not law enforcement, right? And so they're trying to speak that language with them. And then all of you've got these people in law enforcement, and I guess most careers, but it's really high in law enforcement. It gets a little bit weeded out better in the military, I think. But in law enforcement, there are people who just want to wear the badge so they can say that I wore the badge, right? They don't want to be real cops. They don't want to actually put hands on people. And now when you have an event like Ferguson, when you have a thing like Floyd, what they do is they are like those sucker fish that stick onto the sides of great whites. They're not a fucking great white. They just suck and leech onto them and catch a free ride. And so that's what they do. They start to leech onto really good officers.
Feed off of real cops.
They do. And they feed off of the real cops, and then they burn them, which gives them, they're involved in all the reports. and then they wait for that one good cop to fuck up, and they throw him completely under the bus. And then they work their way up the political ladder, and then they're chief, and then they're going to appoint people under them. So really where a lot of this stems from is really shitty leadership and people who are cops just to play politics. And our favorite quote on the Drinking Bros side of things is all politicians are cunts. All of them.
Yep.
Even the police office, the police house politics. They're all cunts as well.
Doesn't matter where a politician is found. It's the same thing. Someone said, stop telling me I chose this profession because as a veteran officer, I'm about to leave. Like, okay. Management needs to stop trying to please the media. My opinion, everything is so fucking PC. That's also very true. The silent majority doesn't have the courage to speak out. So you'll get what you deserve then. And I believe we're seeing that is like that self-fulfilling prophecy that I was talking about. Like, hey, the so-called silent majority, if they're not going to take control and start actually caring about who they're putting in these offices that have the sway, then you're absolutely going to get what you have voted for.
And Mike, just to add on to that real quick, that's your responsibility as an officer, as a citizen that backs law enforcement up or wants to see our streets get safe again and this crime rate to go down. That's your responsibility. So we'll show up in massive numbers to a fucking Trump rally, right?
Yeah.
Go, hell yeah, Trump, fucking raise hail, praise Dale, whatever it is. And you show up with your flags, you put them all over your fucking boats, you drive all around and you praise this politician and you'll show up in tens of thousands, but you won't show up to your school board meeting to fight a racial injustice teaching indoctrination of children. We won't show up to the city council meetings where they are allowing trans.
We don't have 10,000 people in Chicago saying, hey, maybe it's not a good idea to give condoms out to fifth graders.
Right. And so this is where I talked to a union rep, and we have strength in numbers. All of us do. The police have strength in numbers as well. Nobody's showing up to the union meetings. And the biggest reason why, and I did a lot of research on this and talked to a lot of cops about agencies that have unions, whether they're active unions or they're just kind of unions that are providing you attorneys and they don't really have any lobbying power. The overwhelming thing is I can't talk to the union because I'm afraid I'll get in trouble. I don't want to go to these meetings because I will be blacklisted if I go to these meetings. Well, how about this, motherfucker? You'll go kick in a door where a violent armed felon can shoot you in the face, but you don't have the balls to go get free pizza at the union center or the church or wherever you meet because you're afraid of getting blacklisted. Come on, guys, show up to your union meetings, show up to anything in numbers. They're not going to fire 50 of you.
Yeah, you really do have to come together and it's up to somebody to save this, to work this. I mean, we're fighting it from a different angle now here, but trying to be a voice that maybe you guys don't feel like you have, and hopefully encourage you to continue to speak out for yourselves. But someone said this: I'm not willing to stop a driver of a different race anymore. Basically, because unless it's something absolutely blatant, they're afraid of what's going to come if anything goes south, and that's creating its own set of problems. But someone said addressing command staff and saying "fuck you, fuck you, fuck you," you're okay. Fuck you. I wish I could ask the mayor what his real intentions are.
To get reelected. That's what his real intentions are. The chief, that's what the chief's thing is like, hey, I want to make $130,000 a year instead of $115,000 a year. What do I got to do, city manager, to not piss you off so that I can get my raise? City manager is just trying to make mayor. Mayor's just trying to make governor. We're just trying to climb political ladders, and it's time to fucking knock it off.
Yeah. Someone said, you actually brought something up about this earlier, Tansy, when we were offline. Jonestown in the comments said, that's a funny name, by the way. We need to start telling the truth about sexual confusion. I agree 100%. You were talking about that earlier, where this weird new policy.
We can't be policing on ideologies. We cannot police on ideologies. Okay. So your ideology is not facts. And Again, we're trying to police on perception and how it looks. Look, when your department, and there's several departments that have this policy now. Raleigh's one of the newer ones that has this policy, but a transgendered human being can choose who they want to search them. That's fucking retarded. So when you're telling me, and look, I talked to a married lesbian officer because I wanted to know from their perspective on what they thought. So I talked to this officer, and they said, I'm not searching anybody with a penis, period. For a number of reasons. One,
I would never touch some chick that identified as a dude. I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm literally become a walking lawsuit. Like, what are you talking about?
And if we all know, look, I've had a female that I've arrested, right? Period blood. I got the trifecta. She put the period blood on my cage. She peed and she poo-pooed. And then my sergeant said
all three, man.
That's sergeant said
the holy trinity of bodily fluids.
It was the holy trinity, and it was a use of force. It was a lot more going on there. And so I was typing everything out. And of course we had a lot of issues going on there. She said she was pregnant. She wasn't pregnant. She was on her period. So we could debate that all day too. But I was typing all these things out, and my sergeant comes in there and he's like, yo, homie, that report's good to go, but you got to clean that car before you go home. And I was like, I'm not fucking touching that thing. She's like, there's period blood, piss, and
they should have to clean that.
Don't we hire somebody to do that? And he was like, no, you clean that up. Who else is going to clean it? And I was like, I don't fucking know. Let's put crime scene tape around it. Somebody will come and fuck with it. And he was like, no, get out there and clean your car. And I was like, troopers. Are you fucking kidding me? So after a 12-hour shift,
state trooper.
Yeah, after a 12-hour shift, I got to go clean up their trifecta. So now imagine you're a transgendered female. So you've gone to, you're a male that's gone to female, and you've still got your penis. What do you think that person's going to say to the girl searching him in the bathroom? He's going to be like, look at my dick, bitch. Fucking suck my cock. Because we know that typically people that you arrest aren't nice and polite and do the right thing, especially if they're getting strip searched.
Pardon me, madam, if you would search me without touching my wiener, I would be much appreciative.
How are you going to stop
Carry
that
on,
dude?
then.
How are you going to stop that chick dude from slapping you in the face with that dick? Because I can wobble my hips and get my thing. Well, I can't, but some people can wobble their hips and get that wiener really shifting from left to right.
There's so many visuals today.
Yeah,
wow.
So and it's the humiliating of the real female. So anyway, we've had policies in place for strip searches for many, many, many years, and it hasn't been an issue. So why now are we changing that issue based on an ideology? Like, we know factually that there are males and there are females. A dude can't have a fucking period. A dude can't lactate. A dude can't get pregnant. It has no place in law enforcement. Once you commit crimes,
right? Follow the science.
It's like if you're a Christian and you commit a crime and like, well, it's against my religion to be strip searched or whatever. No. You committed a crime, you lose that right, homie. Sorry. You get to be strip searched just like everybody else. If you're the whole transgender
I'm sorry.
thing,
I go Sunday is the Lord's Day. I cannot be held in this cell. It is Sunday. I need to go to church. So you must let me go.
Yeah. So, when you have policies that are coming out based on ideologies, not based on fact, not based on keeping your officers safe, what do you think those officers are going to do? You think they're just going to stick around and take this shit? They're not, because this job sucks as it is. The job is hard as it is. And now you're going to add on these little things. And I would argue that if you're going to add on all these little other bullshit things, then you should take away some of the other stuff, like beards. Like, you grow a beard out. Hey, we know there's a bunch of bullshit coming down the pipeline, and there's these policies that make no sense, that aren't even really well written. Somebody sent me a policy the other day, and I was like, did I fucking write this policy? Because I write better than that motherfucker. That policy wasn't even grammatically correct. So whatever. But hey, you can grow a beard now, and you can show some tattoos on your arms, because we know everything else sucks.
Yeah.
How about that? Take home cars for everybody. You don't live inside the city. Who gives a fuck? Take the car home. Everything else sucks for you right now. We want to keep you. We want to retain you.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's some good and bad to that. I mean, I've seen a lot of cops. I've seen a lot of good cops or good potential cops passed over for stupid policies. Like, they've got a tattoo right here on their wrist. When we have a no tattoo or no visible tattoo policy. And we don't have the sleeves to cover it, are not in our policy, so we can't hire this person. Totally qualified, overqualified, kind of like, wow, this guy served with distinction in the military. He went and put himself through school. He's ready. He put himself through the academy. He's good to go. Nope, he's got a tattoo on his wrist that says Semper Fi. So we can't hire that guy. So there is some stupidity to that, but there's also an inverse to that policy that I see, that admin is so naive that they think that changing those policies is going to change the department culture. It's going to change that idea of they'll still want to police by politics. They'll still want to police by ideology. And they're like, well, we told them they could have tattoos. I don't understand what they're still upset about. We told them they could have some facial hair. I don't know why they're still complaining. We told them they could wear Class Bs instead of these Class As that are miserable in the summer, but they're still not producing they're still not out there pulling cars over and getting us ticket revenue. I don't understand what the problem is, because they think they try to put Band-Aids on a gunshot wound, and the media and politicians and higher educational thought have been firing lethal rounds at cops for a long time. And now they think, oh, tattoo policy is a Band-Aid. Oh, beard is a thing. Oh, take home car. We're giving you this. It's a Band-Aid. Whatever. And so I think that those things should be allowed, but I also don't think that they're the solution to the problem.
They're not. But when you're rallying troops, when you're trying to keep people motivated, and look, I'm not just speaking from an officer standpoint. I've been through a million leadership courses. I own a distillery with a staff of about 9 people. And so I get to lead people all the time. I keep my distillery staff motivated at all times. When morale's going down, when things aren't going the way we want them to go, I start loosening things up a little bit. And I let them know that this is what we're doing. Hey guys, I know right now that we're going to be bottling for the next 7 or 8 days straight, and it's hot as shit in here. And we're all doing the same thing, which is very monotonous. But I'll tell you what, instead of doing this at 9 o'clock in the morning, why don't you guys show up 10:30-ish, whatever. Just get here when you can get here. Or we can switch this up and do it in the evening when it's cooler. We start making things to make the life better for our employees, to keep them happy. And so I think if the departments were like, hey guys, look, right now things suck, and we're coming out with some really dumb fucking policies because we have to appease the social justice warriors out there and not the citizens. But that's another story. What we're going to do is we're going to lighten things up. We're going to relax on this tattoo policy, on this beard policy. And for those of you who want to take a take-home car to save on gas, because gas is through the roof right now. Look, somebody mentioned in the comments, take home a car and get your house burned the fuck down. Yeah, dude, at this point, because gas is so high, fucking burn my house down. I don't give a shit.
Take the insurance money and pay for gas.
But you got to do something. You got to do something to retain these officers, or, and reaching out to some of these other officers, I said, what are some things that you've seen to retain you? And overwhelmingly, people say, well, my sergeants, they're going easy on us. They're not doing this and that. But the majority of the complaints are coming from lieutenants and above who just cannot stop fucking with the police. There was one person told me that they caught this guy who had been breaking into construction zones, stealing thousands and thousands of dollar copper. Same MO. He wears the same shoes. He goes in the same way. Everything's a calling card. And they catch the guy without incident. A little foot pursuit. They catch him. No force was used, though. The guy just kind of gave up. But some of the things that were said on body camera afterwards, which none of them were racist, was all like, man, fuck that dude. He's got a whole bunch of fucking things in there. They called them into IA to say, what did you mean by fuck that dude? Why do you give a fuck, IA? Because fuck that dude. We all know what that fucking means.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy. He's an
means
asshole.
We don't want people stealing stuff in our community. We don't want people breaking into things in our community. And we're here to stop that. We're here to catch the bad guy.
What
so
it means,
leave us alone.
IA, what it means is fuck that guy for the next 2 weeks. He's going to be on supervised probation for this crime. So he's going to do
God forbid he has to pick up some trash on the side of the road for a couple of weeks, which is about all that's going to happen, which is another reason. Like, I think when we start backing it up, we see the problem of the mass exodus. And we look at we've talked about that, like constricting policies. Reasonable isn't good enough anymore. We had somebody from the state of Washington send us some information about law changes there, to where basically they're saying And we can maybe link in the description. I'll put some of this language in there. This is all public, right? Like some of the law changes that are coming in July this month, to where use of force basically has to be a felony to use any force to effect an arrest. And so that means basically people can go around your community committing misdemeanors, which in most places can even include assault and battery, because basic assault and battery, like punching people, that's a misdemeanor. It's not a felony. And so the ability for officers to enforce and effect an arrest by force is being reduced. So we do have like these crazy policies that are in place. Then we have admin that are basically seeking, like you already mentioned, to become politicians, or they are being leveraged by politicians, and they're okay being leveraged because it keeps the same reason politicians are okay being leveraged by anybody outside of themselves: position and power. They want to retain that for themselves. They're selfish pricks, and they're happy where they're at, and everyone else be damned. Screw the man and woman that's wearing the badge, that's day to day in the patrol car dealing with real issues in the community. I'm here in my little ivory tower, and I'm happy, and I'll leverage that and screw everybody else. But when you go even higher, it does get into like these ideological battles. And we're seeing the very concepts that are foundational to being able to actually police and be good. Like when we go back to this idea of being consistent, and an officer who lives his job out consistent with the law enforcement code of ethics, we're actually finding ourselves in a moment in time where the very ideas of removing qualified immunity, of reducing that, of changing that, of removing the ability of cops to actually enforce laws, we're seeing a shift in teaching. We're wanting to push critical race theory and actually teach our community members that one race is bad and another is oppressed by nothing else, other than by virtue of skin color. I mean, we're literally going backwards ideologically, and the good cops are like, I can't live in that world because I can't live in consistency with the law enforcement code of ethics and be true to myself ideologically. We're planting the seeds of corrupt trees, and the good cops are like, I'm out. I can't live consistently with that. It's like, and it's not even the people who hate the cops that the cops are leaving for. It's the people that are in charge of them and that will roast them at any given opportunity to make an example to further their own ideological purposes. I don't know. Sorry about that. I went on a little rant.
No, it's fine. I mean, we don't want to look at numbers anymore. We don't want to look at facts. We don't want to look at factual data anymore. If you look in the news, they cover this things up. If you bring out numbers, you're racist. We don't want to attack the real problem with what's going on in America. It's not the police, by the way.
No,
it's not the line officer police. It's leadership from the top down. And that's what the real problem is. And what we're doing is we're all curving everything to meet a very small fraction of the public. So what we're going to do is we're going to change policies and make life more unsafe for cops, for the 2 transvestites that you're going to run into.
What is
in the 1 year?
What's the mayor's name in Chicago? What's that dwarf's name? Sorry, I shouldn't even offend dwarves that way.
Is it Lightfoot or something?
Yeah,
like that?
Lightfoot. She's like a freaking troll. Yeah, she's a troll. That's what she is. And she, is a perfect example of there's almost no better way to highlight the ideological battlegrounds of blaming the police and restricting Chicago. They're actually reducing their officers' ability to do foot pursuits without permission. You can't just engage in a foot pursuit anymore to catch a bad guy. So a criminal does something, a cop literally has to obtain permission to run after a criminal now. And they want to restrict the cops and quote unquote, blame the cops for these problems and say it's the cops that are creating the problem. Meanwhile, massive amounts of crime and death and destruction going on around you. And on one hand, you want to blame a former administration for racist policies creating a problem while it's happening right on your watch. And all these things are bigger than the day-to-day cop who is sitting here getting squeezed out. Like
from all sides,
from all sides, because what are they supposed to do? Both angles are pushing in on them. And now legally, these policies and procedures and laws are being passed that they're creating no room for them to actually use common sense and reasonableness to do their jobs. And you wonder, like, that's why they're leaving. They're not leaving because they're bad cops. We're not accomplishing getting rid of the bad cops. The only ones that are going to be left are the corrupt ones, are the stupid ones, the incompetent ones, because incompetent people will stay there for a paycheck. Smart people are going to be like, I can't do this and live. I can't have strong convictions in this job and do it. I would be violating my own conscience to be here and do this job based on these policies. So I can't be here because I'm a good cop. So, and I've had people say like, you're a coward, you quit early, all this other stuff. No, I'm a good cop. And that's why I refuse to stay in a position in which I knew that being a good cop was inconsistent with being a cop where I was at. And I just refused to do it.
We've had a Champaign, Illinois. A bunch of cops were walking off there because
they recently lost an officer too.
Yeah, they lost an officer, and the news. So the guy shot the officer. Another officer shot the guy back, killed him. And on the news, they put the murderer of the officer with angel wings and told a life of a well-lived life. So even coming from the media down, so what can we do? What can the police do? What can the citizens that support the police? What can we do?
You know what? I'm glad you bring that up, because we need to be better than just complaining. And obviously you can see, like, I get fired up about this. Like,
I think we all do.
I get fired up about it, but it's not just enough to get fired up and complain and bitch and moan and then get back in the patrol car and go back to life. You got, like, what can we do about it? But before we get into, guys, if you're watching and you want to know kind of what's coming, or if you're listening, you're like, okay, what's going to, we're going to talk about some solutions. Eric and I are going to talk about why we respectively are former cops and not current anymore. And then we'll make our big announcement. But before we get into that stuff, we have to acknowledge our sponsor.
We got to give you something. We got to give you something to sleep on. Something.
Got to give you something to sleep on.
Something to sleep on while you're taking all this information and you're dissecting it. It's a much easier to dissect Mike and I while you're laying on a fucking ghost bed. That is the easiest way to put it away.
Look, listen to this show.
You're dealing with some real bullshit out there. There's some people, murders, fucking rapes, PTSD. You are having to deal with rape classes that tell you to not be a raper. You're taking classes on how to not be a racist black cop. So you're a black cop sitting with a whole room of white cops being told how not to be a racist cop. It's frustrating to you. It's frustrating to everybody. We all fucking hate it. But you know what makes that better is going home at night, laying your old lady down on the bed, or your old man, whatever it is that you want to do. You lay him on that ghost bed, you do the deed, and you go to sleep, and you don't even think about it, because when you're on a ghost bed, you're not thinking about anything else. You're thinking about that cooling technology. It's going to keep you cool all night, so you can stay hard while staying cool all night.
What?
Yeah, baby. Listen, I sleep hard the whole night. I don't want to be hard and hot. I want to be hard and cool. I want to stay cool while staying hard.
You might want to see a doctor about that.
I have. She was impressed. She was impressed. She was a nurse.
She said, "You don't need to change a thing. Everything's just fine.
You're doing just good, homie." But no, we seriously do love
plumbing. Is modern and it's up to date.
When you're sleeping on a bed that was made in the good old USA, and you're sleeping on a bed that you can return after 100 or before 101 nights. So you have 101 nights to determine whether this is the perfect bed for you. That's going to take away all of those demons, and it will. It cures all the demons. I don't have any demons sleeping on my ghost bed. If I spend the night at somebody else's house, those demons come back to me. I go right back to my ghost bed. It's all gone. But when you're sleeping on a bed made in the USA with 101 night guarantee, you just sleep more peaceful. You don't have to worry about all the other bullshit. They have a 20-year warranty on each mattress. You can get a 40% off, guys. 40% off for all of our LEO brothers. And we have a promo code coming, which is Wolfpack, but it's not there yet. So right now we're using promo code Drinkin' Bros, DRINKIN Bros. Ghostbed.com/Drinkin' Bros.
Drinkin'
Adjustable
Bros.
base, best in its class, very low price, save thousands compared to others. The adjustable base has 15 massage modes, 0 gravity, some other awesome features. You can buy a mattress for $35 a month if you have mediocre credit at best. They have 0 down, 0% financing.
$35.
Ghostbed.com/Drinkin' Bros. That's we'll probably get canceled for that. I don't even know what that accent was. But I'm sure we'll get canceled for it.
Ghostbed. En español.
Anyway, yeah, there it is. So made in the USA. That's what's the most important to me, because fuck China. And
China.
I'll just leave that there.
China.
So 40% off your mattress and adjustable base on bundles, or 30% off a mattress and 2
Ghostbed
free
repels
pillows.
the China virus. That is not true. Don't
That is
ta-
not true.
that is not that is not verified by science.
There was a line and you crossed it. Just kidding. Nobody's going to believe
We've
any
been
of those
canceled.
stats we
We've been
said
canceled
tonight
by Ghostbed after that.
because of this ad read. But anyway, Drinkin' Bros, all capital letters, DRINKIN BROS. I promise you, you will not be let down. Sleep on that.
We've got 506 Wolfpack members watching us live right now as we record the show. So Tansy, what is the solution? If
So I
we
talked
were
to some
Chiefs,
union.
right? Like
I talked to some union reps.
If we were Chiefs,
we
how
were
would we
Chiefs.
fix the? If we could be chief of the country, of the police,
Which is
how would
funny
we
because,
fix this
you
problem?
know what's weird is actually I am friends with the chief of like the world. Like he got nominated as like chief of the world. I don't know. Actually, you know what? We'll probably have him on the show. I'd like to have him on the show. He seems like a really good dude. Seems like a good dude. I don't trust anybody that makes it that far in life, but I don't know. I'd like to reach out to him and talk to him a little bit more. Policies are too broad. Upper management is picking and choosing which policies that they want. You know, for instance, for example, policy says you can't use your computer while driving. Policy also says that you can't pull a car over until you've ran it through DCI and through all your CJ leads.
Yes.
So
exactly.
that policy needs to go away, right? Because that policy is only to set the officer up for failure. Because if he wrecks his car and he was doing that, it's cleaning the hands of the department. So some of these vague policies that upper management gets to pick and choose when to enforce them, that needs to be curved a little bit. IA needs to have a little bit better discretion. So we as officers have discretion. Internal affairs, just because you're not allowed to cuss in uniform, sometimes you have to cuss or people will not listen to you. And that is a fucking
that was like
fact.
one of the
Don't tell me that you can fucking
lessons
do
I
it
had to
because you
learn.
can't.
I got a call. I don't want to go too crazy cop story time, but I got a call very early, like phase 1 FTO, right? Like just brand new. And I got a call to like a bunch of males, a situation escalating in a front yard into possible fight, blah, blah, blah. So we show up and I'm like, excuse me, sirs. There's like, 6 or 7 dudes in this front yard. I'm like, excuse me, gentlemen. Like, I'm trying to be like the academy guy, right? Like, can you have a seat for me? Stand over here. Please keep your hands out of your pockets and blah, blah, blah. And what's interesting is my phase 1 FTO was kind of like a really conservative dude. But long story short, him and the other senior officer that showed up on scene with me, they kind of had to take over. And then they pulled me aside afterwards. They're like, listen, you have got to learn how to use your fucking mouth, right? Like you have to speak the language or they're not going to respect you. They're not going to listen to you. They're going to think that they can walk all over you, and that's why like people always ask me like, well, why, how come your boots aren't shined? I'm like, because when they look at me, they know I'll run. They know I'll chase them.
Yeah.
I never shined my boots like every once in a while, like for, cop funerals and special events. But otherwise, like people like where I work, they would look at that. Right. And be like, oh, this guy will run. This guy will play. And so I'm not going to play with him. You gotta create that respect. And so some of these silly policies, that is the time I got written up, by the way, for swearing. I got
written up for saying, I don't hate you. I just think you're disgusting. I can't reach it, but I wanted to read that policy. So after I get done talking, I'm going to reach over there and grab it. But I did get written up for telling somebody that I don't hate you, and quote, I don't hate you. I just think you're disgusting. And the way my reprimand reads is that there were people around that were offended. So not even the person that I said it to was offended. People around him were offended. The reason why I said I don't hate you, you're just disgusting, was because I had called Child Protective Services for the 4th time to take these kids out of this home, which one murder took place at, a drive-by shooting took place at, a drug search warrant took place at.
Those things aren't the problem, though, Tansy. You are the problem.
And so the guy said, man, why you must really hate me to keep fucking with me like this. I said, sir, I don't hate you. I just think you're disgusting and your kids can't live here like this. You have to clean this up. I don't care about the shootings, the homicides, and the drug sales. That's not why I'm calling CPS. I'm calling CPS because the dog shit, the human shit, the no running water, the mold, the shotgun house in those conditions. But IA said that it was disrespectful, and so I got written up for it. But I want to talk more about. I was able to reach out to some union leaders, union rep guys. I'm not a big union guy, but I do see its importance, and I see how that we can use that as officers right now. I think that is the biggest tool going forward. I think it's the one tool that we have that nobody is using, or very few people are using. And I don't think that unions have a really great rap. They don't have a great history, but I think a lot of things have changed. So when I talk about unions, I'm talking about more modern day style unions, not your unions of the 80s and the 90s. I think what we could do is
we're not talking about mob driven Teamsters.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And I even think Teamsters has kind of changed a little bit. And
sure, yeah, I don't know.
I think I've
never been a member.
But I could go. It's the same with the Chamber of Commerce for me. I could go on and on. I think certain towns have great Chamber of Commerce and some towns have shit Chamber of Commerces, but we can use our local unions. We can use our numbers. You as officers have got to get together. So we're all sitting around listening to this podcast. You guys need to not be afraid to start working together in numbers. And you can start that with your union rep. You need to be calling your union reps and going over and having bitch fests with these guys and then showing up to the meetings. You union reps need to be convincing officers. You need to go full ham on social media. You need to be going door to door if you have to, like Biden and his vaccine, knocking on his door and saying, hey, homie, there's a school board meeting tonight, and it's all about removing law enforcement officers from the school and what you can and cannot do inside the school. Guess what? The only voice at that school is the fucking Karen and all the other fucking social justice retards who are going to be yelling and bitching with no fucking solution, and they're the only voice that's going to get heard. So if you show up in numbers and you drown her out, all right. So like in our chat here, which we had 500, I don't know how many people we have now, I haven't looked, but over 500 people in our live chat. We always get one or two assholes that are like, oh, blah, 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 blah. But you guys drown them out. And so I don't even get to fucking see those until people text me like, man, did you see that one cunt? No, I didn't, because I saw the overwhelming majority of people supporting our podcast. So if you guys show up in numbers and you convince each other that it's cool to do so. And I get it, dude. I get it. I never went to those fucking meetings. I'm not being a hypocrite. I never went. I'm going to go now, and I'm not a cop. I'm going to go on your behalf. It is up to you. You've worked 12 hours. You get up and you go to court for 3 hours. It sucks. You went to your Don't Rate People course, your PowerPoint course. You went and had 3 black female women give you a speech about diversity. I get it. It all sucks and none of it makes sense and it's all hypocritical and bullshit. But this is the one thing that you can do. The one thing that you can miss out on that sleep, sacrifice that nap time to go and sit at these school board meetings, to go and sit at your union rep meetings, to go to these city council meetings and be a bigger voice than the fucking Karens, because the silent majority is a fucking majority and they do love you. And they do support you. None of you civilians, including myself, we are not showing up for law enforcement. I am making a pact today on this show that I'm going to be more involved with the union, and I'm not even a fucking cop anymore. I am going to go to these school board meetings, and I'm going to be a loud voice. I need people together with me so I don't look like an idiot.
We should do a Trump-style rally just for cops.
Well, we're doing the morale. Well, that was a surprise. Fuck, won't say it.
Well, it's not. We're doing. Well, we're not. It's not the. I don't think that's the start of the morale tour, but it's. We do want to do a morale tour, and we need to hold.
This isn't the start of it.
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
I thought this was part of the morale tour.
No, not yet.
Okay,
we haven't unleashed that yet. But
that's.
But yeah, we need to be banding together, encouraging the people that are in the trenches and in a position to do something. And if you're in a position to do something, then we've got to do it.
I think we could start by, if you are a law enforcement officer and you don't want to do it, what I will start trying to do is, if there's one of you that's brave enough, send us a private message of when your next school board meeting is in your town. I'll make an event for it for your fucking town. And we'll do a failure to and what I'd like to do is a failure to stop social media page for regions. Just kind of like Drinking Bros has regions. We can have a failure to stop for regions, and you guys can get on there and kind of band together. It's a private group for only LEOs, and you guys can talk about this show. You can start implementing some of our plans. But if you would start by just sending me your next meeting, maybe you're a union rep and you're listening to this and you're in buttfuck Alabama, and you're like, hey man, big school meeting about teaching our kids about
Literally, I think there's a town called that in Alabama, isn't there?
There is. Well, it's called Family Fuck Alabama. Cousin fuck. And sorry to all my Alabamians out there.
Sorry, Alabama.
But send us a message and say that, hey, we're having a big school board meeting. It's really important. We'll boost that out. If you have a bullshit policy that's just absolutely crazy, let's start blowing these guys up. Start sending emails. I'll start putting email chains together. We'll email some of these chiefs, some of these city attorneys that are coming out with some real garbage, and we'll just blow up their emails. It's time for us to start doing something. And Mike and I are going to, we're going to put our money where our mouth is, or our mouth where our mics are. I don't know. We're going to help you. We're going to be there.
As long as we're not on a ghost bed when we're doing it.
I'll do it on a ghost bed. I have no shame. I don't king shame. You know that.
All right. So some of the things as far as solutions go, get rid of policies that are contradictory or useless is one thing.
Or too vague.
Or too vague as a catch-all to protect yourself. Get more involved in the areas that you can get involved in. But from what else can we do? I mean, like for me, this is like a dear admin kind of a moment here too, is like, you have to start leading by principles and not politics. We have to have 100%. Common sense principles. Like a while ago, I did a video on like the Toledo Police Department in Ohio, which is like 45 minutes south of me or whatever. So they got rid of like exterior vests because they were too scary looking.
Perception,
right?
This is the America of perception. United States of perception.
Instead of educating the critics about why that's nonsensical, you caved. Admins are caving to political pressure, just like it's like peer pressure when you're a kid and you're just giving into this for no reason because you have no personal convictions that you're leading by. You demonstrate it when you cave like that. Instead of going to battle for your officers who are actually day in and day out having to actually wear those vests because they're going into situations where they need them, and they are the ones that have to understand how to be comfortable or maneuverable on the job. You are allowing politics and that pressure from that to determine your policy and practices. That's ridiculous. That's stupid. It's weak. And so, dear admins, you need to return and recover leading your police departments by principle, common sense principles of policing, and make your battle with those who want to change that. Step up to bat and educate the people. This is why I can't stand community review boards, community oversight boards, because you cannot have people who do not understand the law and do not understand policing in a practical context be in charge of that. You can't. It does not work because you don't understand what you're leading. And so the only hope we have to battle against this from an ideological standpoint, our chiefs, our admins, our leadership fighting the battle outside of the department to defend the cops, not turning on your own officers and eating your own and pushing them down and demoralizing them to appease the outside. It doesn't work that way. So that's another solution that we have, is we have to get leadership who isn't going to turn simply because it's a position.
Well, you have leadership right now. And that leadership is, like we've talked about, we know what they're doing. So your young sergeants, your young lieutenants, this is where you don't do things to get promoted, because this is another thing that we get to hear is, I've got to do this so that I can get to the top and I can make change. Well, you start bending your morals, like Mike talked about. You start bending your ethics, your ideology, what you know is right. You know that when they say stay off of that street because the perception is bad, and you know that somebody's going to get murdered because you're not there, that's when you as a lieutenant say, no. I don't care if you promote me, you don't promote me, you demote me. We're putting 8 officers on that fucking street because if I don't, somebody dies. And I care about somebody dying, not what the perception is of us being in that community. I don't give 2 fucks about my perception. I don't care what I look at. Cancel me. Don't promote me. We're going to go in there and save lives. We're going to serve and protect the people. Look, I've got this. I've never used it. I bought it just for this whole show. Let me do it. I've got a mallet and the thing, right? Serve and protect the people. That's your fucking job. Not the social media justice warriors. Order in the fucking court. There's my soapbox.
There you go. I
only got to use that.
I think we're saying what everyone knows to be true. I don't think that we're coming up with any kind of ingenious answers like, oh man, I never thought about that as the solution. We all know the problem. I think it's just a matter of like actually taking the steps to do it. And it really does start with, this goes back to some of the stuff we were talking about last week with the human trafficking issue, is like the problem is so big and so pervasive that we can't just deal with it all at once. We have to say, okay, what is in my purview? What step can I take as an officer or as a community member, as a supporter of law enforcement, we're not talking about supporting all cops everywhere who do everything and sometimes make mistakes, just no matter what. I'm not talking about blind support. I'm talking about, hey, you believe that law and order is a cornerstone of a free society, and where you see issues, you actually take a step to solve it. Because is every police department practicing based on a set of principles and ideals? No, they're probably not. Is every officer doing that? No, they're not. So, but most of them are, and most cops want that. Most cops enter into this profession because of their convictions. And if you believe law and order is that cornerstone, then hey, we need to make sure that we're just taking the next step. What's the next thing that you can do to be a part of moving into principle and away from politics? Like every department and every local city, tiny little village, whatever, needs to be asking themselves that question and give shape to that alongside their communities and say, how can we be more principle-based and less politically driven?
Push back. Get the pendulum to go the other way. And that takes you as police officers, senior police officers. If you're going to resign anyway, let's start pushing back. Stop being yes men. If you know something is immoral, unethical, that these are bullshit policies, that are pandering policies, that are racist in their own ideals, you know what policies I'm talking about, and you know what kind of pushes we're going for. Push back. Say, no. I'm not searching somebody with a penis. Not going to do it. You want to fire me? Fire me, fucker. I don't give a shit. I'm not touching a fucking dick. I'm a female. I'm not searching somebody with a cock. Don't be a yes man. Supervisors, don't be afraid to back up these officers. Right now, we have city managers, city council members. All they've gotten from leadership in police department is yes. They've gotten you to the point where you're putting your fist up in solidarity. You're taking a knee. And so when you have no idea what the fuck is going on or what the fucking facts of the case are, you're just doing it. You're just blindly doing it, trying to make a statement. Stop being yes men and start being policemen. Let's get the pendulum to go the other way. This has been a great soapbox for me today. But
I know we've been on a soapbox, and these are some solutions. But why are you not on the job anymore? Let's like share that.
I got fired because I'm not a yes man. No, I'm kidding.
You kind of are. Right? Like that's kind of actually true. So go ahead, and I want people to know, like, this isn't just us. You and I aren't like, we didn't take the easy way out of things and then just decide to come back and act like we know what we're doing. Like there's reasons behind our decisions and where we are. But stop being yes men and start being policemen. What a great phrase. Good job, Tansy. So tell us a little bit about like how you came to be a former cop.
Well, this is a story that I've kind of steered away from telling for a long time. But the real start of where the end of my policing, I think, happened was there was an incident. And this is the whole story. And not a lot of people know the whole story. Very few people know this whole story. Very few. There was an incident that occurred, and I was involved in the incident. And I'm going to be very vague here because it's important to me to be vague, but it was involving a 15-year-old child, a female child, having the worst moment of her whole life. And it all boiled over into one major incident. And just by I had a certain particular skill that nobody else in the city or the state had, which was being able to use sign language. I'm pretty fluent in sign language. And so by default, I was the only officer that could respond to this case and be of assistance. So at the end of the day, things transpired and went very well. They went bad and they went well. And so the department wanted to use this it was just right after Ferguson. And they wanted to use this as a political advantage. They wanted to use this incident to booster the community's image of the police department. So when the social media person and the publicist of the department contacted me to get all the information and get my information, I said, absolutely no, that this story doesn't make it out. And he said, well, it's already on the news. They just want your name. And I said, no, I'm not going to give my name. I'm not going to give a statement. And he says, no, we're allowing you. We're going to hold a press conference and we're going to allow you to do this. And I said, no, I'm not doing it. This was this 15-year-old girl's worst day of her entire fucking life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be all over the media. We know it's going to make the media, but let's not celebrate it. So I refused. And then they made me go to a thing in the middle outside of Raleigh to receive an award for it. I showed up without my uniform on because I didn't want the award for it, because I wanted this to go away. If the department cared about that little girl, they would have done this in-house and just give me the award without the photographers, without the thing, and that would have boosted my morale. But they wanted to do it outside of the city in a big public arena. And I showed up without my uniform on, and they were pissed. I also took the award and just went right back to my seat with no speech and with no picture. Then they wanted me to show up the next day in my blazer and the nice Class A uniform and bring the award. I didn't. I forgot the award. The next day, I forgot the Class A uniform. Years later, a year or so later, they actually found that award underneath a seat at auction, and somebody had bought the cop car at auction and then called and said, hey, we found this plaque underneath the seat and it's got your name on it for the officer of the year. But they made me officer of the year. They did everything that they could to make this story known, even though I had told them that story was ruining this girl's life. And retelling the story over and over again is not doing anything for her. And if we're really doing this career as selfless servants, it shouldn't matter. And the only reason my case was different than anybody else's was because I speak fucking sign language. I didn't do anything heroic. There was nothing great about that. It's just I was the only motherfucker that could speak sign language. So that's what got my name out to the chief. And the chief wasn't happy about all of that. I had been building a distillery. Everybody in the department knew I'd been building a distillery for 3 years. My supervisors helped me bang nails. The deputy chief stopped me in the hallway and said, hey, homie, how is your brewery going? I said, oh, I'm building a distillery, not a brewery. And he said, what's the difference between a brewery and a distillery? And I said, well, distillery is doing alcohol. Now, the policy at the time was you could not sell, distribute, or handle alcohol, or sell, distribute, or handle alcohol. They changed, they added handle because of my case, but it used to say you couldn't sell or distribute alcohol. Well, I wasn't selling or distributing. I was just simply manufacturing, and I had already had the go-ahead that as long as I didn't have a bar, as long as I wasn't directly selling to consumers, and as long as I wasn't a distributor, didn't matter. Yeah. And the way North Carolina works is I don't have any say in what bar takes my liquor or what liquor store takes my liquor because it's all ran by the government. So it's picksies and choosies. So there's no way for me to exploit my law enforcement.
I love it. I love the government's hand in this.
Yes. So 3 days before and I think this is all in punishment because of me embarrassing the chief by not
playing along,
not playing along and not being a yes man. Yeah, they brought me in three days before the soft opening of my distillery, and they said, we hear that you're opening a distillery. And I said, absolutely, I am. And you guys have all known about it, so why are we acting surprised? You guys have all seen it. It's been all over social media. We know what's going on, right? And they said, well, we feel the values of a police officer do not coincide with the values of a distillery owner. You can resign today. Or
none of them drink, huh? Ever?
Right. And their sons aren't convicted felons. And actually the deputy chief at the time, cheated on his wife. He still wears makeup to this day. He's a real piece of shit too. But
Like emo, like he's Blink 182 chief.
Yes, and he wears these like shiny suits that are all like super shiny. The dude's a huge coward. And we could go on all day about him, but
Tonight will be the night I don't
Yes.
patrol again, cause I'm a chief.
yes,
Don't make me do the work. I'm just a bitch with the makeup and a uniform.
We've got to make a music video because that was too perfect. So anyway, yep, they gave me they said you could resign, you could relinquish ownership, and I said I've never quit anything in my life, so go ahead and fire me. I'm going to open up on Tuesday. Let's see what happens. I opened up on Tuesday. Monday was Memorial Day. I opened up on Saturday. Monday was Memorial Day. Tuesday they brought me in. Took away my gun, my badge, and it was the most empowering moment. It took 3 months for them to do all the paperwork to fire me. But it was 3 of the best months of my life because every 2 weeks I had to go into IA and they would just try to do the same thing over and over again. Ask me the same questions. Are you doing this? Are you doing that? They were putting IA officers outside of my distillery with photographer cameras and trying to take pictures. It was absolutely absurd and ridiculous.
Excellent use of resources there.
Yes. So even though I was completely honest, I was like, look, we don't have to do the bullshit. Like, I'm not going to stop doing this. This is what I'm doing. Just fire me for it. Like, you don't have to build this case. You don't need to be parked outside of my thing, taking pictures with a covert car. This is all nonsense. I've done nothing morally wrong, ethically wrong, or illegally wrong. Everything is legal. So let's just stop the bullshit. You just don't like it. You don't like the perception of it. I'm not going to quit because I've never been fired before. So I think getting fired is fun. So I got fired for opening up a distillery, and the overwhelming amount of police officers that were there at the grand opening. We do a fired up event every year, which you're going to be here this year for our fired up event. We're going to make it 2 weeks early. Oh, that's a surprise. But August 1st was my fired up day. That's the day I got fired. So we'll be celebrating that this year, July 23rd. Ooh. Fired up. Yeah, I got fired. I got fired for opening up a small business.
Nice. Well, I am grateful that I went out on my own terms. I feel like there was some I went from full-time and then picked up a part-time gig to keep my cert, to stay, like, because it's not like I didn't like being a cop or doing the work. I loved it. But there was some writing on the wall to me. There was a mix of a, I don't know, opportunity with what I saw happening at my department. Because I had been given quite a long leash when it came to social media and what I was doing to what I believe was humanize the badge, grow the organization, the nonprofit. We still, to this day, humanizingthebadge.com it's the organization that I helped co-found, and we are a 501c3. Like, I started making videos on the internet to draw attention to a nonprofit, and the admin at the time got that. They understood that. And I'm so grateful that for a long period of time, they gave me the space that I needed to do that. But eventually I quit at the right time, and I had some opportunities. I had a job offer to do to work for a new marketing startup company. And I was like, okay, I have this moment in time that I had the job opportunity in front of me, and I saw some changes at the city level happening that were not going to be good for me in the future. So I made that decision, and I made it at the right time, because it wasn't too long after that I was getting phone calls, and the city administrators were like in an office watching my YouTube channel and basically demanding that I pull down videos. And I was able to say, well, fuck you. I'm not pulling down any videos because I don't work for you anymore. I did what I was supposed to do according to policy and practice, procedure, all that while I was working there. And you don't have a say of what I do with my life now. So I left at the right time. I was still doing this part-time gig, but then there was political things happening with obviously the situation, specifically the George Floyd situation happened. And then we also had Garrett Rolfe in Atlanta had been railroaded in the shooting in the Wendy's parking lot there. And our prosecutors around here are very similar to that. So I'm looking at the writing on the wall, and there were some political happenings at that time where you already mentioned, like chiefs kneeling in solidarity over this false notion that policing is systemically racist, which is abhorrently anti-factual. And so there was some leadership around me that was going that direction. And I just realized, like, okay, I am literally I'm one police call. I'm one traffic stop away. I am one moment away from throwing away everything that I've done. Since I left full-time in 2017, I've developed businesses, and I'm providing for my family, which is super important to me to do. And I'm not going to let politics dictate when I go out or how I go out. And I'm just not going to do it. And so both moments in my shift away from full to part-time, from part-time to no time, was me, I believe, successfully reading some political writing on the wall, with no support at the time from city admins and all that stuff. So that's how I sort of ended up where I'm at. But yet I'm still committed to wanting to do what I've always done, which is hopefully be an encouragement to cops and also be able to educate non-cops, hopefully in entertaining, engaging ways. And I'm still doing that. And I'm still grateful for that. And then, yeah, we've got our wolf pack that hopefully continues to believe in what you and I are doing here with the same sort of thing with the show.
Yeah, we love the wolf pack. Reading these messages is always my most fun thing. And we're going to give back to the wolf pack by doing some things every month. Go ahead, Mike. Blow the surprise.
Well, one thing that's happening is, and Andy, if you have the link handy, we're going to drop the link in the comments. We are going to, on July 23rd, we're going to be streaming live together that day, whether it's in that room or maybe it's at the distillery. We'll figure that out as we get further into the plans. But that night, Friday night, July 23rd at Instill Distillery, which the address is on the event. It's in Clayton, right? Which is between Raleigh and Fayetteville. Is that how you describe it, right?
Yeah.
So we have 100. It's free. This isn't a charge thing. It's free. We have 150 spots available because we don't want the fire marshal coming and pissing on our parade, I guess, whatever the capacity is. 150 tickets for free available. So if you want to make it out for the podcast party, celebrating the launch of the podcast, apparently celebrating Fired Up as well.
Yeah.
We'll do it all.
Yeah.
And I know we talked. I don't want to put you too much on the spot, but maybe we can do something to where a portion of the drinks that people buy that night can go to a nonprofit, a cause that we're believing in, or
we'll send
whatever.
it back to Humanize the Badge.
Do something, yeah, man. We'll do whatever.
We'll do some raffles as well. We've got pork chops and ham hocks, which is my favorite. Ham
hocks, man.
My favorite two cops that are in a band together. They're amazing, and so they are going to be there playing their hearts out. We'll do some raffles, and we'll do some giveaways. We're going to raise a bunch of money for Humanizing the Badge, I think, unless Mike and I decide something else. But I'm game with that. If you are, I don't give a shit.
Trace said you should have one in Michigan too. Yeah, but guys, that's
the morale tour that we're going to go on
in the future. We want to do this failure to stop morale tour, and we're going to go to some big places and invite cops in and just try to throw a party for them and encourage the men and women out there working day in and day out against the morons that are trying to keep them down.
Oh God! These people in the comments are so funny. I don't even know what this means, but it just sounds outrageous. I'm not even going to read it out loud, but I did laugh. I'll just say who said it. Bootsy one. It sounds really cute, Bootsy. That was really fun. Awesome show, brothers. Seems a lot of us have been railroaded by our departments. We're sworn to protect. Keith, yes, you are being railroaded. And we're sorry for that, man. But, if you're going to stick around, there's some things you can do. And that's exactly what we talked about on the show. Show up. Show the fuck up. Show up to your city council meetings. Get your friends to show up. Then you have to be cops, man. Get your fucking 10 best friendies. Show up to the city council and cause fucking hell, baby. Rage. When that little Karen stands up, fucking heckle her. What are they going to do to you? Like, I live in Johnson County. I'm going to Wake County, and I'm going to heckle the fuck out of these things, and I'm going to make an ass of myself because our voice needs to get heard and it's not being heard. The silent majority, I'm over it. I'm not going to be silent anymore. I'm not going to bitch about it. I never bitch. I always do. If I think about starting a distillery, I start a distillery. If I want to get my certified specialist of wine diploma, I go and get that. By the way, I can't show it to you right now, but I'll post a picture of it up on our Instagram. Signs by veterans. Longtime drinking bro Bradley Yandel. They surprised me this week. They drove 8 hours to deliver me a metal failure to stop sign of our logo, the one that makes me look like a huge lesbian.
It looks badass, man.
It is nice, and they're going to get you one too. But man, what a cool thing. They drove 8 hours and surprised the shit out of me. We had enough time for 2 beers. They rolled back out. I had them on my Tailgate Legend show, which goes out tonight on Drinking Bros at 8. So jump over there and watch our Tailgate Legend show where we tailgate with a pirate hunter, a real life pirate killer, somebody who has literally, I hate saying literally killed fucking pirates. Like, this dude killed pirates. I got to sit right next to him.
You mean like Somali pirates? Like, yes. I'm the captain now.
Yes. Yeah.
Nice. Yep. Good. Those guys deserve
a handful of them. And so we get to talk, you get to hear some, really gruesome, great war stories from his perspective of pirate hunting. But signs by veterans. That's who was on the show. So
nice. Joe Lynch had said the court system is a total hand job. Well, I disagree, because hand jobs can be fun.
I love a good
court system is, I think we didn't really touch on that, but that is a huge aspect of what demoralizes cops is are the applications or lack of the application of the law against those who violate it and violate other people in a way that reduces the motivation for cops to even actually go do their job, because they're seeing the bail reform laws. This goes back to some of the stuff you're talking about at a big ideological level. What is being thrust upon us? Like our minds are being forcibly raped with these ridiculously stupid ideas, and these bail reforms and sentencing guideline changes and all sorts of things that also contribute to the demoralization of police officers and lack of motivation as well. So it's definitely a topic to consider for the future, is specifically how the court stuff handles into that. But anyway, we've been another
always
bonus
we
episode,
can't stop.
man.
We can't fucking stop.
Won't stop, man. When our guns up, we get our guns up, we get our giddy up going. We can't stop.
Richard Stover says, I bet Eric likes a good handsy. I love a good handsy. It can mean over the pants handsy. And I call it a handy, not a handsy. Handsy tansy. Nope. I do like a good handy. I'll give myself one. I don't care. I don't kink shame. So thank you.
What's your name? Bend over. Nice to meet you, Ben. I think that was Fletch Lives. Maybe was the movie from that. Well, that was a Fletch movie. Good old Chevy Chase in his glory days. All right, that's enough from us from today, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Hey, go rate and review the show. Follow it wherever. Spread the word. And we cannot wait to see you guys in Clayton, North Carolina in a couple of weeks.
July 23rd.
Giddy up.
Guns up. Giddy up.